What's up? We are back on the CEO Pulse podcast where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Another episode of the Mindset Mondays with my co-host, Justin Thorstad. Justin.
Crowd goes wild.
Justin.
That was good, man.
Yeah, Justin. He can do it. He's the man. If he can't do it, no one can.
Thank you.
That was longer than it needed to be. Way longer than it needed to be. All right, I'm digging my sound effects, bro. I don't care what.
They're getting better and better.
I don't care about the haters on social media.
Nope.
Tell me my sound effects are not cool. They're very cool. So yeah, one of the topics that keeps coming back to us and in the messages and people sliding into the DMs. I've always wanted to say that.
I told you, bro. You're too old to say that.
I've always wanted to say that. But it's adversity, right? Like, how do you handle adversity? What is adversity? What does that even look like? Do we just anything that goes south, is that automatically deemed as adversity, or is there something specific that that as individuals we start getting triggered on and then really fall into this space where we feel almost compelled to just kind of sit there and die because of adversity. So it's one of the topics that seems to be bubbling up, and people want to
Awesome.
talk more. So thank you guys for taking part and letting us know. One, how we're doing in terms of conversations, and then two, the topics that are more relevant to you guys. So with that being said, Justin, crack this thing open, bro.
Yeah, man. So I just want to also kind of dovetail off what you just said. Thank you guys for suggesting a topic. What are you dealing with? What are you faced with? What's stopping you? And give us those ideas for topics, man, because we'd love to support you all. So adversity. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't get into business, or the ones that do start to become entrepreneurs stop early on because of adversity. Right? Yeah. And so what is adversity? And why do people allow adversity to stop them from realizing their full potential, for them realizing success in their life and in their business? And really, I look at diversity, and this is my opinion, this is my perspective. I look at diversity as I had an idea of how things were going to go. There was an expectation. Reality unfolded otherwise in a different way, and I'm not okay with it because things aren't going to plan.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really adversity, right? And I don't care what the topic is. Maybe the market shifted unexpectedly.
Yeah.
Maybe you have problems getting clients. Whatever the adversity is, to just take a look at and break it down to its fundamental essence, its core, and it's really just things didn't go per my expectations, and I have a problem with what's happening right now. I'm adverse to the situation.
We're in the middle of a lot of that right now. I mean, just because of the uncertainty of everything that's going on, right? Things, we're in a dynamic society. Things are shifting left and right. They're not even done shifting when they start shifting again.
Yeah.
So we're in constant motion, right? When it comes to just adaptability is one of the things that's a must right now. It's a priority, and I think it goes hand in hand with adversity. Just because you don't have that clarity, and you don't have that blueprint laid out of okay, what does the process look like? Hell, think about 2020, right? The businesses that were prepped to work from home thrived in that space. However, it was adversity to a lot of businesses and just in general.
Absolutely. Well, and that's a perfect example.
So is it really
2020 the COVID epidemic, right? Like, and so it's funny too, because being in the real estate space, my primary business is Libertas Real Estate, the real estate brokerage. And I remember, I have different opinions on illness and things of that nature. So when a lot of the agents were wanting to go to do our meetings via Zoom, I was totally against it. And I was encouraging people to still come. Yet some people were getting COVID. They really didn't want to be around a bunch of people. So I honored their request and we went to Zoom. And even in the Zoom landscape, people tend to zoom out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, no kidding.
I
think that's the basis of the name.
Yeah. Yes, they're there present on the Zoom, but they're not actually present, right?
Yeah.
But I will say, 2020, 2021, like our brokerage, as far as sales and volume and agent count, exploded. Like we boomed through that adversity time, because really adversity is just what you say it is. Right? Like no thing in the known universe has any inherent meaning or significance. It's all assigned. And so it's the lens in which you're viewing the situation. And we don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. right? So whatever's going on the inside and your expectations, your assumptions, and then you don't see it on the outside, and you look through that lens of disappointment, aggravation, I'm not getting my way, and I might get what I don't want. And so, it's like you're doing it, and it's just a mindset of how can I look at this different? So a lot of people, when they hit a roadblock, some adversity in business, maybe it's an external function, an external cause that's triggering this. Most people sit down and they contemplate, okay, well, what do I do about this? And I don't know what the right solution is. And I do believe, just based on experience of myself, every time I've gone to my mind to ask for solutions, guess what it gives me? It gives me my conditioning, my programming, and it's therefore going to give me answers to my questions that are going to keep me safe and comfortable, right? So instead of asking, what do I do about this? Why not sit down in some sacred time that you carve out to give to yourself? For me, it's meditation morning and night, and ask, what's the lesson here? What is there here in this situation that is a beautiful gift to me? Therefore, this situation is happening for my benefit. It's happening for my evolution. It's happening for me to raise my level of self-awareness and consciousness and business skills. Like, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow. Because, you talk about the market shifts. Everything's always in a state of flux. And it's like, how can you learn to flow with what's happening with your reality and dance that dance instead of being rigid and structured and no, things must be like X, Y, and Z, and they must go to plan of 1, 2, 3. Like, what in the hell do you know? What do you really know?
I think, well, you said something that's key, right? It's an opportunity to learn and grow. I really do think that that anything worthwhile comes from adversity. Adversity just entails you pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. Think about it, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. For example, my businesses have been running, virtual for years. 2020 kicked in. A lot of businesses were just scrambling and trying to. To me, I didn't even feel that, right? Because I was already set up for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But so it didn't hit me as adversity. It was just an opportunity, right, to learn and grow for the rest of the people out there. Now they're finding different dynamics. There's a lot of, when it comes to business development, in my field, organizational psychology, there's a lot of studies going on right now. The productivity just, got ramped up because people are working from home. And it's a more of a laid back approach in a lot of, industries and whatnot. So anyways, that's one of the things, right? But at the end of the day, we're pushing ourselves out of that comfort zone. And it doesn't matter if, as individuals, and as a society as well. So what's your context on adversity? Like that's a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Anything that's going to challenge you, it's going to push you to learn, to grow, to be better, where you have to be better to perform, it's going to feel like adversity. Case in point, I put together a master's class last week with a friend of mine. And it was very, very last, minute. On the 28th of the month, last month, he came over and he was like, we started talking about this thing, right? and we have the experience, we have the know-how, but it's still an event. It's still a master class. You have to figure out, what the roster is going to look like. You have to sell it. You have to, all the nuts and bolts, right? There's a lot to it. And he asked me when, and I was like, well, let's do it on the 10th because it's perfectly rational. So we scrambled, right? The whole thing in the middle of it was challenging. And it felt like adversity. It felt, I mapped out my emotional cycle a couple of years back, and I could feel the whole thing coming to, or actually going, walking myself through that whole thing again, right? There's periods where you have euphoria and then you get pessimistic, or I get pessimistic. And there's ways to kind of mitigate that just because I know myself now. But adversity was, at every one of those points, emotional points. And at the end of it, it was the trigger, right? I was overwhelmed. We were trying to, put shit together. Yeah. Never done a master class like that, especially in that context. We're flying people in, and it turned out well. The point being is that it felt like the whole thing was gonna just crash and burn right in the middle of it. That to me is the definition of diversity, but we kept going with it, right? Yeah. We kept pushing through it. It was just a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and again, I look at adversity as, if you want to label it as something that's good. As something that's healthy. Right. It's something that can cause you to step into the unknown and grow and learn something new. Because when you go into a new experience, what is there? There's new information. Yes? Yeah. And so, think about let's take the COVID epidemic as an example. Like, how many businesses realized, oh crap, we got to have our employees work from home. Oh, well, guess what? This is working, and they're even more productive because they're focused. They're not wasting time on drive time and all of that kind of stuff. And look, we just realized that we can significantly reduce overhead because we don't even need all this commercial space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what a beautiful gift. And now the company's profitability just went up because expenses decreased, productivity went up. That's called profit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But how many people probably looked at that and thought, oh no, like the sky is falling? And it's like, no, what are the gifts here? What is there to learn? And what I love about you said about you putting together that masterclass and just kind of scrambling is like when you are willing to volunteer, to initiate, to inject yourself into the fire, that's where you're going to grow. That's where you're going to learn what you're made of. That's where you're going to have an opportunity to experience your true potential. And if you don't do that, that means then you're always operating from memories of the past. And if you're always operating from memories of the past, you're going to be predictable in your future. Right? So that adversity is an opportunity to learn new information, learn new skills, have some self-awareness, some insight, sight from within, right? And what can you bring on the outside? So how are you supposed to grow without that? And besides, if you are just going through the motions and you're expecting, say, market conditions, employment, all these different factors to just stay the same forever, doesn't that sound really fucking boring? You know what I'm saying? And the other thing is, too, is like when adversity strikes, an X factor comes into your awareness, reality just unfolded differently than you expected. Like, that's where you get to grow and learn. And what about, because again, taking something external, the reality unfolded differently than how you thought it was going to go versus expecting things to just go normal. What if that little X factor in the reality that just unfolded caused you to completely pivot your entire business in a different direction and now become more profitable, more serving, more abundant, more purpose-driven? And that would have never happened without new information of a new reality unfolding in front of you. And you would have missed out on all of that. Versus looking at it as like, oh my God, this is bad. Then what am I going to do? And freak out and scarcity and fear, doubt, worry, right? Like then you just find yourself existing in those lower survival emotions.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and it's interesting, right, to realize that, and I'm not saying, I mean, there's genuine adversity out there. There's stuff that illness and things that hit you that cannot, they're just gonna throw a wrench in your life, right? Now I think that's one type of adversity that might be different and more difficult to handle, right? Something that's outside of your control. But when it comes to things that are happening in our environment, right? Immediate environment, for example, is work, and at the end of the day, like it really comes down to the attitude that we take towards them. Now, are we growing a victimhood mentality within our mindset, or is it an empowered mentality where we see them as opportunities?
Yeah, totally.
The ability to check yourself and go back to center, right? And then pull yourself out of that shithole that you're in when you feel like you're in the middle of adversity, and say, okay, cool, is this really as bad as I deem it to be? The wisest piece of advice I've ever heard is coming from the movie The Hangover, and it's, but did you die? Right? Like I keep asking myself the question when I'm going through dark spots, like, but did you die? No, if I didn't die, then there's still a fighting chance.
Absolutely.
I think it's not falling into that space of hopelessness, right? That renders us powerless to take action, powerless to do stuff. And when your emotions are in the gutter, that's when you're really in trouble, right?
Absolutely. Well, let me give you an example because you brought it up. So I had this agent that became quite ill, and she was really a doer, like doing everything herself. I mean, burning the candle at both ends, always hustle and grind, not as a season, but as a business strategy. Yeah. And despite my coaching to have her change, she was more committed to being the same because that's what was known, that was what was familiar and comfortable. So she kept doing it. Well, guess what? She got super sick. And so the natural tendency for her was to go, oh my God, my business is going to crumble. I suck. I'm insufficient. Right? Yeah. It's like, no.
Self-labels, yeah.
Yeah. Energy flows where attention goes. If you're paying attention to those lower survival emotions of what's wrong, more will go wrong. However, what you can decide to do, the law of polarity says, if that is a truth to you, then its polar opposite must exist too. Such as, there's such a beautiful gift here in awareness. There's something here for me to learn. And here's what she learned, even though I gave her coaching about this beforehand, is that, I don't have to do it all. In fact, I can delegate this. I can enroll support. I can get a lot of things off my plate that aren't really the highest and best use of my time. And I don't even enjoy doing these damn things. Like, you want to be super successful? Here's the key to success. Stop doing shit you hate. Do you know
I
what I mean?
agree with that.
Right?
I totally
And so
agree with that.
How are you going to stop doing shit you hate if you're not willing to initiate and volunteer to create that unless adversity strikes and now you're forced to, right? And so it's like, if you take a look at what is there here that's happening for me and how can I learn and grow, now she stays in her lane, which is her role, which is like 2 or 3 things. Everything else is outsourced, delegated, automated, right? And now she's more profitable, more productive, working less.
Yeah, and there's going to be, different, like, for example, that is pushing somebody out of their comfort zone, right? They're used to a modus operandus for a long, long time, right? Now they're switching that. It may feel like, it's adversity coming in, but is it really, or is it again an opportunity to grow?
Maybe it's something attempting to get your attention.
My question, yeah, exactly. My question is, how do you come back from the emotional hit? Like, what is your process? And I'll go over my process, but what is your process to come back from the emotional hit of adversity, especially when you feel like you get to that space of hopelessness?
Yeah, so mine is very simple. First of all, it's extremely rare that I get to a place of hopelessness because, again, through practice and repetition, I've really gotten to the place of my practice, which I'll explain. And so every time there's an onset of something not going my way, then that's an immediately trigger to check in and have the awareness of what is there here for me to learn from? Like, what is the gift here? Why is this happening for my benefit? And so what I simply do is when I notice those emotions come up and that old energy and patterns of, oh no, hopelessness, that's the cue. Okay, what am I going to do? I go sit my ass down and meditate, man. And I ask myself before I sit down, what's the lesson? How is this happening for me? How is this going to help propel me into the next level, the next chapter of my life? And then I just sit down and meditate on that. I quiet my mind and I allow myself to receive something, new information that I don't currently have in my awareness. And, sometimes it takes a couple sessions, but inevitably, it always comes through. There's always some soft, voice that gives me the key to the kingdom. Like, here's why it's happening. This is what you get to do with this. And it always entails that I evolve myself and I evolve my business. New processes, new ways of looking at things, and new ways of doing things that are really just going to open up productivity. And, how beautiful is that? But that comes through knowing that that's my truth.
Well, that
because I've been in the hopelessness,
the space,
right? And every time I went in the past, would go to hopeless. Like, everything just got so much worse in all areas of life, right? Because that's where my attention was going. That's what I'm feeding energy to. And what are you going to get? More of that.
Yeah, exactly. Mine is similar. So one thing that I do, I have to, if I get to this point where I'm scrambling, and this is the cue for me. All right, I'll start thinking about alternate routes. And not in a sense of positive productivity or pivoting on the strategy. Like, no, like, oh shit, should I go back to a 9 to 5? That kind of alternate routes. You know what retreat. I mean? Yeah, exactly. Something that's completely outside of my comfort zone, or not comfort zone, but something that's completely outside of my truth. That even like I feel ashamed of even thinking that kind of shit. Like after the fact, right? But that's a cue for me. Like I'll do like, man, maybe I'm just messing up. Maybe that whole self-doubt starts to kick in. That's a trigger. And that's a red flag, actually. After that, I start getting, a bit hopeless, and it's my cue to disconnect. I just have to disconnect from whatever the process is, whatever the issue is, whatever the thing is that I'm working on at that time. I have to disconnect.
Just stop and go take a break.
I have to stop and take a break. It doesn't matter if it's, I mean, you name it. In the middle of a conference or whatever, if I'm there, I have to disconnect. That's my. Otherwise, the hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. But I have to pull out from that, right? And I have to give myself that space. It's easier said than done because the mind is still going, right? So usually what I do is picking up a good. I have to have a different topic in my head. So I'll inject a different topic into, and I'm not saying, go sit down and relax and do this, because I'm still thinking about all kinds of shit, right? It's got to be something that's engaging to me. This is just my way of processing it. but it's got to be something that's engaging to me, that's actually going to get my mind off of that thing. It's going to disconnect.
So you create a new object for your attention to go to.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because what that does, and the way I see it, and it makes sense when I see the psychological flow of thought, right? It makes sense because it decompresses me from that one thing that's just causing the chaos in my head. Decompresses me from that. After I hit that other topic, and I dabble with it. It does and you can. I mean, a lot of times that's why I love playing guitar. I have a guitar in my office next door, so that'll decompress me. That'll get me out of the thing, right? But it's engaging to me psychologically. So I'll put myself in that space, and after that point, I can sit there and give myself the mental space to think, to meditate.
Yeah,
right.
beautiful.
But if I try to get out of the shithole straight into meditation, to me, it's I'll be thinking about the same thing. I won't concentrate. Like I have to have a hard disconnect.
Got it.
And then transition into that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's beautiful too. And so I guess what we're saying for everyone watching is that like there's no surefire way. They're just different ways. And there's infinite number of ways that you could use to disassociate from that.
Yeah.
Because for me, when I go sit down and meditate, that's my hard disconnect. Because then I just focus on my breathing. I make something the object of my consciousness, other than the mind, other than those thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So to just hard right, so to
Yeah.
speak. But the other thing about adversity is the thing that I love about it is it really gives me the opportunity to check into if I'm getting emotionally triggered, what is it that I'm still holding on to inside that's getting hit?
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't have past stored, stuck traumas and situations and self-image issues, there'd be nothing inside getting hit with the unfoldment of that reality.
Right.
That reality that's unfolding is hitting something that's stored and stuck on the inside. And so when the adversity comes and I notice that energy, is like, here's an opportunity to sit with this and let it go. And this is a topic I want to do for another episode, but it's noticing your emotions and saying, okay, I'm not going to suppress them and I'm not going to express them. I'm going to be with them to let that shit go.
Yeah.
So that it's no longer running the show. So that I no longer view my reality through those lenses. I view the reality for what it is.
You become a spectator of them, and it's okay to understand and realize that they're there, right? Like they're part of us. This whole notion about trying to suppress the emotional side of humanity at an individual level, to me, it doesn't make much sense. I feel like we have to know ourselves, right? We have to know ourselves and embrace who we are, and because the thoughts are gonna come up. If you have, for example, thoughts of or past conditioning or programming of lack of worthiness or that sort of thing, it's gonna bubble up. I don't give a shit if you're 80 years old, 90 years old, and a complete success. There's gonna be little things that trigger you, right? I think what gives us power to mitigate those is just having that emotional awareness. Okay, cool. I know. Okay, I get this thing that I'm feeling. I know what it is. I know exactly what it is, and I understand it's bullshit. The emotion is still going to be there because it's coming from a past memory that triggered just a biochemical reaction in your brain that created that emotion.
Which is familiar, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not the first time you experienced that.
Exactly. So it's an engram, right? It's just bringing back, whatever the thought, the memory, along with the emotion that was ingrained with it. Now, understanding that those things are like little, just like taps on the shoulder, as opposed to big
taking your world down.
Fucking scary monster that's gonna eat you up alive. You know what I mean? One of our friends, Jason, dude, that guy's pretty clever. Like, don't tell him I said that.
I won't.
Yeah,
His
every
head
now and
get
then
really
he's
big.
got like his good moments.
Yeah, once in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're very sporadic. I mean, maybe one.
We gotta send him this episode.
Yeah. So, but we were talking about. We were talking about fear and emotion. I mean, it was just one of those whiskey sessions. For some reason, we just break into all kinds of weird stuff.
Always happens.
But yeah, so and the analogy that we used was, we have this big beast. When it comes to emotional adversity, right? When it comes to emotional adversity or something that's just throwing you out of whack, it's pulling you away from your truth. It's pulling you away from who you are and that center, that balance. And we can turn it into this big, massive beast that's going to eat us alive, right? And when you don't have emotional, when your emotional IQ is not there yet, you're still struggling with dealing with it, and maybe ego gets in the way. I mean, and you name it, right? There's so many things that are gonna be part of that equation. But when that stuff is happening, it feels like this big monster, right? And then as you get better with it, when it comes to emotional intelligence and understanding who you truly are, right? And that goes hand in hand with dealing with adversity. But as you get better with it, it gets smaller, and smaller. It doesn't go away, but it becomes like this little ankle
voice.
biter
Little
dog
chihuahua.
that's just like, it's kind of like that little chihuahua. It's gonna annoy the fuck out of you all day, maybe, but it's not, it's not gonna kill you.
Totally.
Unless he catches you in the middle of your sleep and bites your throat or something like that. Wow, that went south real quick. But you know what I mean? I mean,
Absolutely.
it's still there. So having that awareness, right? That adversity is and the emotions that it creates, those are gonna be there. Like they're gonna
Always.
bubble
the,
up.
The key isn't to make
Deal
them go
with it,
away.
right? Yeah.
Right. And so some people say
Dealing
like the
with it is it.
situation's so big and so bad, and it says it took me down. No, you took yourself down with it.
Exactly.
You utilize that to take yourself down. Like that's the ultimate level of responsibility and emotional intelligence
Yeah.
is to realize that I'm the one in there noticing these thoughts. I'm the one in
Right.
there feeling these feelings. I'm not those thoughts. I'm not those feelings. I'm the witness of them. Right. So nothing can take me down without my permission and consent. Or I'm a true victim in the sense of the word. But are you in this situation? Absolutely not. That would be utterly fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's our take on adversity. I mean, I think it's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity for learning. It's an opportunity for evolution, right? All
Absolutely.
together.
Well, again, and I'll kind of I'll end what I have to say with this is what you just said is that if that thing used to take you down and you practice and practice and practice, pretty soon that voice becomes so small and it's almost a whisper and it comes up on occasion. Only because you've done the work to use your imagination to think about a new truth that you're going to, every time you feel those feelings, to shift to that new truth.
Yeah.
And you cannot be a slave to two masters. You must pick one. And so
Exactly.
the only one that's going to win is the one you feed, and you feed it by giving it your attention, right? So the new model of, okay, how is this happening for me? How is this coming to me as a gift to evolve myself, not only mentally, but emotionally, and evolve my business skills as well to make me a bigger, better entrepreneur. That wouldn't happen without this. So how is this a gift to cause that change? You keep focusing on that as your truth, man, so much is going to change in your world.
Yeah, I love it, man. Anybody or everybody listening out there, just when it comes to adversity, ask yourself the question, right? How is this happening for me, not to me? Okay, that's gonna just shift your perspective on how you're seeing things, on how you're processing things, on the possibilities, on how to solve whatever that adversity is. It's a space of empowerment as opposed to victimhood and hopelessness.
Totally.
Right? Which
Well,
that's
because-
the easy route.
Absolutely.
That's an easy route.
And the simple truth that I refer back to is if there's a problem, that means inherently there's a solution.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if there was no solution, there wouldn't be a problem. It's that duality of it all. So you have a problem, great. That means there is a solution. But you're going to have to approach it from a different mindset, from the mindset that helped create the situation. We'll get into that
Yeah.
another topic.
Oh yeah, yeah. What is that? That's the definition of insanity, right?
Totally.
Yeah, trying to get different results with the same mentality that got you in that.
Yeah,
place.
your personality
You know
creates your
what?
personal
That's-
reality. So
yeah.
you want a different personal reality,
I
you
think we
gotta create
just
a new
pulled the
personality.
topic for another.
Totally.
podcast.
Totally. Yeah.
All right, family. There you guys have it, bro. Where can somebody find you if they want to get a hold
Yeah,
of you?
JustinThorstad.com. Thorstad is THORSTAD. And actually, if you don't mind, I want to plug, I got my 2-day Success by Design workshop coming up.
Yeah. Do
that's
we have a
for-
link for that? Is there a link?
Yeah, at JustinThorstad.com. You can buy tickets. There is an early bird pricing through the end of this month. Tickets are $297 for the 2-day workshop. But with discount code EARLYBIRD, you get $100 off through the end of June. And the event is in July, the 22nd, 23rd.
What's the event about? Break it
So
down.
it's really awakening to your true potential in life and business. So I do a deep dive into a tremendous amount of mindset and help people unpack some things. And then also creating your purpose in life, your mission, and your vision, and breaking that down to 90-day goals. And then I give people business structure, and I don't give a damn what industry you're in. The structure is universal and works for everyone. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you only get to eat what you kill, this 2-day workshop is for you. I got a whole workbook for it, 9 to 5, 2 days, and it's an incredible event. So
Love it.
get your tickets at justinthorstad.com.
JustinThorstad.com. I love how when you start talking about like where somebody can reach you, you go all gangster. Like,
Yeah?
they can reach. And for those who are listening on iTunes, like I'm swinging my hands and like, doing like this
Looking all
thuggish looking face.
Thug, suave.
Oh yeah, because we're G's. Well, I'm probably gonna get beat up for saying that, but I don't care. I don't care. It's life. You know what? It's adversity.
That's right.
All right, family. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can reach me anywhere at Rafael Cortez CEO. Hit me up on IG. I'm pretty active there. Make sure that you subscribe and like the channel and the iTunes podcast or wherever you're listening to us. And drop a comment. I mean, if you want to hear more about different topics when it comes to mindset, we are here for you guys. And we look forward to continuing doing the. See, when I try to get all professional, I just fuck shit up.
Then stop.
Yeah.
So what he's trying to
All
say,
right.
ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
is keep those comments coming and those topics that you
Let's
want
keep
us to talk about,
talking.
and we'll provide you more value. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you come visit, bring some whiskey.
And nice cigars.
So there you guys have it. CEO Pulse Podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Stay focused. You got this. Love you all. Boom.
That was fun.